The LA Sparks on the right track. Man, helping them get there. Assistant General Manager Eli Horowitz here to talk about how he got to where he is, where the Sparks are headed big picture, and what this moment means for the WNBA. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal. I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. Over 200,000 of you showed up in July alone. We are on track to have even more listeners here in August, the way we show up for you 6 days a week. Of course, when I say we, it is not just me. It is the incredible team we have over at The Next. At thenexthoops.com, you can get over 100 reported pieces every single month. We have a dedicated reporter on each WNBA team. The great Cameron Ruby covers us in Los Angeles for the Sparks. If you support it, show us. $9 a month, $72 a year. Get it all to your inbox over at thenexthoops.com. Check it out. I'm so proud of our team, and I'm so proud of the fact that we cover everything. We cover the teams that are winning. We cover the teams that are rebuilding. We cover everything in between. And so Cameron has had a lot to talk about when it comes to the Los Angeles Sparks. And I just want to set the agenda here. Segment one, we're going to talk to Eli, who I've had the privilege of knowing for a long time, who has been doing the work in the trenches of women's basketball. We're going to talk about Eli's path to get here. Segment two, we're going to talk about the Sparks, not in terms of wins and losses on a given night, but just the bigger picture, because it is so important. And again, as I've been doing this a minute, it's always important when you're thinking through where a team is. Think about it in terms of an arc. What is the why? Where is the team headed? How is that team going to find its way to a championship contending level? And the Sparks, to my mind, are on the right tracks. We're going to get into that in segment two. And then segment three, it's a glorious moment in Boston last night, a sellout crowd at TD Garden watching the Connecticut Sun and the LA Sparks play. So just talk a little bit about that too. But Eli, is the place I want to start. Just take me through, like, when did you fall in love with the game of basketball?
Well, first of all, Howard, thanks so much for having me, and want to shout out you and your entire team and the media landscape, because none of the moment we're in now doesn't happen with the incredible coverage that people have been in the trenches for many years, like yourself, without that. But I've been a basketball junkie my whole life. Grew up in Chicago, so got spoiled with the 90s Bulls, and that was kind of my first foray. But after college, I did a program called Teach for America. Ended up coaching high school girls basketball for 3 years, and kind of saw in that moment what we knew, but just the discrepancy and kind of the resources and treatment of the boys team and the girls team. And kind of from that moment, I felt a passion to kind of change that at all levels of the game. And, there's a long path between there and today, but that was kind of that moment for me of knowing I wanted to work in women's basketball and impact this landscape.
I mean, Teach for America is such an important program, and it also not only brought us a generation of teachers, and I know a lot of them myself, but just also it brought people into different walks of life. And so for you to go from that moment and finding the game at a professional level, I know you spent time on the public relations side. You've obviously done really a little bit of everything, time in the media side as well. The moment, though, that with the Sparks, you entered the front office from a decision-making perspective, right? And you get to be in the room to have those conversations just as a basketball junkie. How cool was that moment? Did you give yourself that sort of opportunity to say, wow, I'm kind of at to use the Hamilton phrase, in the room where it happens,
Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate, and I've worked for some incredible leaders at the Sparks. When I entered on the PR side, getting to work for Brian Agler and Penny Toller at the time, Michael Fisher. I mean, people that have won championships and had so much experience. Then Karen Bryant came in, Derek Fisher, that gave me an opportunity to really dive into analytics and research behind the scenes, even when I was still officially in the PR capacity, and the opportunity to keep moving into this assistant GM and VP of scouting and analytics role. And now Reagan Peebley and Kurt Miller, who have decades of winning experience. So definitely been fortunate and bring some things to the table. But when you really look down the list of who I've gotten to learn from and be mentored by, it is pretty special.
Women's basketball means often wearing many hats along the way, but having an opportunity to have an extended front office. You and I know, we've been in this a minute. An assistant GM was a luxury that a lot of teams didn't even have. And so I'm always struck, just in conversations with LA about the fact that in so many ways you are bringing analytics to the forefront there, presenting differing points of view. I just wonder, bigger picture, how much more sophisticated you feel like front offices in the WNBA have gotten over the last 5 years, and how much having additional voices in the room, being able to do that, being able to divide and conquer instead of one person wearing many hats, you have different people. How much of a part that plays in that sophistication, let's say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, we're not long from the days of kind of having the GM head coach throughout the WNBA. Long way to go, but a lot of progress. I think one great thing the Sparks leadership has done over the last few years is, to your point, kind of carving out those lanes. We have a great team here. Eileen Hauser, our vice president of operations, and then myself on the VP of scouting and analytics. Often in the past, even some of those roles were kind of combined, right? And so we've tried to put really strong leaders in positions to kind of tackle the different areas of basketball operations. And so, my focus really being analytics, scouting, kind of building out what that means. This year, for example, we were able to bring in 3 analytics interns that were solely dedicated to that craft. Built a draft model, which hadn't been done at the Sparks prior to this season. And so again, second spectrum, right? The league deal with that. So I think it's still on the ground floor, but I think, I imagine all 12 teams understand how important it is and are figuring out how they want to build that out.
I had the privilege early in my career of covering the analytics revolution in Major League Baseball, which really took hold during the decade of the 2000s. And I know for a lot of folks who were at the forefront of that, there was a little bit of a battle for it, but then ultimately there was a lot of gratifying feelings of like seeing these ideas take hold. And I'm just wondering if you've had sort of a moment where a particular player or a particular skill set you saw translate, really kind of was able to reinforce for you, wow, here's where the rubber hits the road for what I've been able to do here in LA.
Yeah, I think it's happening. I mean, I think just on a simple term, you have about half the WNBA teams now shooting at a 3-point volume that is similar or on par with, the 30 NBA teams.
Right.
Shot quality has been a thing in second spectrum and synergy, but that's something we talk about in meetings, both in front office with the coaching staff. I think everyone's really open to it and excited about it. And that's, a shift where whether someone's well-versed in it or just at the beginning of learning, everyone wants information and they understand the importance, and that ultimately you have to optimize efficiency on offense and defense to win.
I think, again, Reagan, Kurt, you guys together, it just seems to me like a really good team, bringing different areas, frames of reference in. I also think, and just, before we get into our break and heading into segment 2, as a point of personal privilege, to see that there is now a path for the brightest young executives in the game to be able to grow and develop, whether it's Ohima at Golden State getting the opportunity after doing such great work in New York, Claire Duelius getting promoted internally in Minnesota. We're seeing again and again that there is a pathway for this. I think it's only going to continue to make the game better. And just, Eli, just frankly, you are obviously on that path too. So it's exciting to see. I want to talk about the why as it relates to LA. So we're going to be back more with Eli Horowitz, talking LA Sparks, talking WNBA. I'm Howard Megdal. You are listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your car, and frankly, my car, alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. And I'm saying this as somebody, I know what I'm doing once I get to a WNBA game, but getting there, I don't really know how the car works. Fortunately, eBay Motors does. They have over 122 million parts, and they've got this thing called eBay Guaranteed Fit. So it's this little green check mark. I don't know if it fits my car. eBay Guaranteed Fits tells me that it does, or your money back. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Locked On Women's Basketball is also brought to you by Miracle Made Sheets. And Eli, as someone who is also married, you understand that sheets and the decisions over them are a joint one, right? So that is the case in my house as well. And we are fortunate that my wife and I are both crazy about Miracle Made Sheets. All summer long, it gets hot here in Jersey, but the Miracle Made Sheets, which are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics, they're temperature regulating, so we can sleep at night at the perfect temperature. We even brought in a kitten, Tevye the cat, and he has been overwhelmingly happy with our Miracle Made Sheets. Has he said it? No. Is he clearly happy? Is he purring? Is he showing up every night? He is. And so Miracle Made Sheets are also self-cleaning. Tevye the cat may be there. Miracle Made Sheets make it easy for us to keep Tevye the cat here as well. I thought he'd come on and maybe we'll show him another day. So go to trymiracle.com/locked-on to try Miracle Made Sheets today. Now, if you use promo code locked on at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle also has a 100% money back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, you get a full refund. Again, try miracle.com/locked on using the code locked on to claim a free 3-piece towel set, save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/locked on to treat yourself. Thank you for Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode, bringing happiness to our marriage and happiness to Tevye the cat. Yeah, our draft model, when we went to get a kitten, produced Tevye, and we're really happy in our household. But let's talk about yours, because you had what I think people are going to look back on as a draft for the ages. You had at 2 and 4 bring in Cameron Brink and Rickea Jackson. And I want to touch on Cam first, because what was notable to me is how much her game immediately translated, particularly at the defensive end. Take me through how much that was predicted and how much of that was, wow, this is even a bonus even for us by how fast it happened.
Yeah, first obviously wishing Cam a speedy and smooth recovery, and just obviously unfortunate for her to have that injury after, to your point, such a bright start. But yeah, I mean, have been watching Cam thoroughly, her Stanford career and beyond, and we really like to take a step back. Like, Reagan Peebly, our general manager's brought in a really good philosophy of eyes, ears, numbers that I know she's even spoken to you about. And obviously, I'm the numbers is a big part of what I do, but in evaluating this class, like, that was really our prism: eyes, ears, and numbers. But the numbers definitely projected a high impact player, defensive player of the year type ceiling, in terms of the defensive end, and then a player with the versatility to shoot the three. Even early rookie year numbers above 30%. If you just look at catch and shoot, it's even higher. And then defensively, I mean, we all know where she can get to, but how quickly already. Won't get so in the weeds with some of the numbers, but Synergy has a defensive impact metric already 7th in the entire league. First among rookies, and some of that defensive impact stuff. So really, really encouraging, first 15 games for Cam, and definitely a very bright future ahead.
Again, it's caught short, and for reasons on and off the court. We all want Cameron Brink back as soon as possible, wishing her obviously all the best. But in addition to that, her numbers, I mean, one of my favorites is block percentage, and she was north of 8 as a rookie. What she was doing already, I mean, easily would have led the league over a full season. A'ja Wilson, who's obviously having an incredible season, a season for the ages, is at 6.9%. So rim protecting, but we kind of assume that would be the first thing that would translate. Being able to see what she's able to do offensively, does it help you kind of shape the way the upcoming offseason can proceed? You go back to shot quality, and she's running a very different offense under Kurt than she did under Tara. Do you feel like you got enough of a sense of where she is already to help you plan better for 2025?
Absolutely. And I think to that point that the 3-point shooting is very encouraging. We have a great player development and shooting coach, Danielle Viglione, here. I know Cam also works with the best of the best on her team. So very, very encouraging there. Her ability to rip drive, whether it be from the elbows or the 3-point line. So it's just more evidence of the versatility, the length, the mobility that we're trying to put in place here in our build.
Rickea Jackson, if you had to pick one thing you were most wondering about with her, this is for me, this may not have been for you guys, it was a question of efficiency. And so when you look at somebody who's got a true shooting percentage well over 50% here as a rookie, is doing some things offensively while being asked to take on some different roles just by virtue of your injuries. And I mean, we don't even have to talk about it. We just need to point out, because our Lucas Seehofer has been reporting about it over at the Next. You guys have over 100 missed games so far this year. No other team has 80. So it's just been crazy, and it's asking her to do more. But do you feel like you're getting even a better sense of her versatility on offense than you would have if not for that?
Yeah, Rickea's been off the charts. And first of all, both Cam and Rickea are incredible teammates and people. Just been such a pleasure to have them a part of this organization. But to your point, the efficiency, I think at the pro level, she's getting even more spacing and able to show. I think we were looking at just yesterday, even posting up, people think maybe more of a wing, or how is she doing in her pull-up game, but points per direct in post-ups, minimum 30 attempts, 5th in the entire league. And the top 4 are names like Brittany Griner and Stewie and A'ja Wilson, NECA. So her her ability to score in so many different areas. We're, I think, just scratching the surface of how to utilize that and maximize that. And already she's the only rookie shooting above 45%, averaging in double figures. You pointed out the true shooting percentage. I think she's second among rookies in effective field goal percentage. And the 3-point shot has been encouraging, but again, an area that we know will get even better with a full offseason of player development. You know, she's been hovering around 30%. We believe from our player development staff, there's no reason that won't get towards that 35% as we head into the next phases of her career. So super excited. As a starter, she's gotten the opportunity to defend some of the best players in this league. She's starting to rebound more. Her assist numbers have gone up. So there's so many ways she still can impact the game that we're either just seeing the early signs of that, or we'll see down the road. But another truly special foundational player.
And we can't leave without talking about this. So right after the break, before we get into the larger context, Dearica Hamby and just what she has brought on the court is incredible. So back in segment 3 with Eli Horowitz, I'm Howard Megdal. You are listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by FanDuel. And obviously, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, but they have a deal, a new offer that is just crazy. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So again, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. I live in the Philadelphia area, but I am, and I know I'll take your condolences, a New York Giants fan. And so NFL Sunday Ticket makes it possible for me to suffer all fall long. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked on, and you can download America's #1 sportsbook. And then again, bet $5, get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. It's how I plan to watch the Giants, I assume, lose badly to the Minnesota Vikings on September 8th. Yeah, going to be a rough fall for my Giants. So back with Eli Horowitz talking in segment 3. Before we just get into this moment, I just want you to take us inside the room where a sold-out TD Garden last night. But Dearica Hamby, we can't get there without talking about what she has done this year. Usage rate easily the highest of her career. A player who, isn't out of nowhere. You can't be a multi-time all-star prior to this year and be out of nowhere. But she was in a lot of ways the super sub that Bill Laimbeer used during a lot of her years in Las Vegas. What did you see that allowed you guys to know and understand that she was capable of assuming this mantle of true #1 player on a WNBA team?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Dearica. Like, she's had an incredible year, all-star, Olympic bronze medalist, led us in so many ways on and off the court. But just her demeanor, her work ethic, who she is as a person. Last year, playing 40 games, coming off the birth of a child, just an incredible feat. And she's just been that consistent voice in our locker room every single day. And we were able to agree on an extension with her. So super excited to keep building. And on that point, I know, Cam and Rickea, we talked about them, but just, Lee Yarou, Ray Burrell, Azare Stevens, Steph Talbot, Julie Allemond, who unfortunately wasn't here this year due to injury. Ari McDonald has had, a breakout season, especially on the offensive end. The list kind of goes on, but just really excited about the young players we have here and what we're building.
There's a lot of foundation, and again, we talked about this at the top. The goal is always not to be steeped in mediocrity. It is to try and figure out how to build a championship team, how to bring elite level talent in, to find and then be able to retain Dearica Hamby and bring her to another level. Seems like a victory of both player development and also talent identification. The same thing with Cam, the same thing with Rickea, the same thing, like you said, with folks up and down the roster. Azurá Stevens is a great example. And then you guys are well positioned into the 2025 draft. Have you already sort of begun building out that 25 draft model? Like, what does that process look like just from an organizational standpoint?
Yeah. And also want to mention Zaya Cook, who hasn't, maybe got the minutes yet, but another player you saw from AU, her development, and a part of what we're building here. But for me, this will kind of be my third cycle of the draft. And what I like to think is, like, when you're really doing this the right way, you got to be years ahead, right? So when we're scouting the 2024 draft, we also need to be scouting 25 and 26 simultaneously. And so, I think each year you get better at being almost another year ahead, where you're more comfortable and confident with, 3 classes ahead, 4 classes ahead, et cetera. So I think the 25 process, started a long time ago in the same way 24 has. Having watched Cam and Rickea 4+ years, I think we have a pretty good handle on what will be, we believe, another special draft class in 2025, both NCAA and international, which is another kind of explosion of talent that's been there, but of kind of finally recognizing it and bringing more players from Australia, Europe, China, with Leah Rue. And so I'm super excited to kind of dive into that modeling and welcome in another great draft class.
And I know, because as you know, we have reporters everywhere. They see you everywhere. You are always live. You are always going to these live looks. You are getting to see the talent up close. I know how hard you work at this. And on that last point, what did it mean last night to be in that arena? Not the first time we've seen it, but just sort of another milestone, a sold out game between the Sparks and the Sun. What did it feel like in there? And, did it feel like a milestone moment to you for women's basketball?
Yeah, last night was special. TD Garden, shout out to the Connecticut Sun organization. Building was sold out. It was loud. I had some family there that were just blown away. And we've had a few of those moments this year. When the Sparks hosted the Indiana Fever, we were over 19,000. I think I saw something that it was higher attended than any Lakers regular season game. Recently, in our homestand against New York and Chicago, over 10,000 against New York, over 16,000 against Chicago. So, yeah, it's great to see having a series of moments where it's a movement, right? Not a moment, because these moments keep happening, and just amazing to see that this is not stopping. It's not going away. And I think even last night we took a moment as a team after the game to, we're competitors, we want to win, but just to remind team, staff, like, we're just a part of history, and regardless of the outcome of the game, like that was special.
I'm glad you got to experience it. It's been great to see all that you are doing to build in Los Angeles. Eli Horowitz, thank you so much for your time. And to our listeners, thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'll be back with you tomorrow, of course, as we are 6 days a week. Until then, I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Wednesday.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.